Good morning. Okay, today continuation of discussion of previous year question paper, 2016 scheme, that is Jan to December 2018 and Jan 2019 question paper. Previous to that, if any left out questions from previous year, previous session, we'll see. So, in the previous discussion, till yes, so we have covered all the questions from the previous question paper. Okay, 2015-16. Today we go and discuss this December 2018 Jan 2019 uh, question paper. So you can observe that in the most of the question paper, most of the questions are repeated. You just observe. What is mobile application? Explain the importance of mobile application in today's scenario. We have already discussed in the previous paper. Last two previous paper, the same question repeated. What are the development process of mobile application in the business world? Development process. It's looking like new, but it is again already you know about something about this development process. What is the development process in business world? So suppose if you are a developer or if you are a company to provide the solution to the public, what will be the development process you are going to adopt? The first one is you are interviewing with the client to get to collect all the functional requirements client is expected. First, you are talking to the client, you are jotting down all the requirement that is taken by the client. Then you started designing the model for that prototype model for on paper prototype model you are trying to design. Sometimes you are using the design tools like storyboards and all. So then again you are interviewing with the client whether what you expected is this, whether this or not. If any updations or changes are there with the client, again you are reviewing that requirements. Then after that, then you are going to choose the relevant software depending on the cost. So client is ready to pay high remunerations. Then probably you might give the very good software which provides all the flexibilities and support and maintenance services also from your end. So if the client is not ready to spend high remuneration, then you can so limit the software. So you can even fix the boundary of that particular software. Then then after that after choosing that software and you start developing the code. So first you are going with the GUI part. You are dividing the entire project in terms of modules. So each module is going to assign to one member or a group of members called as a team. Then one group of members working on GUI, graphical user interfaces, with support for the client requirements. The another person is going to write the logical control logic behind the control of that application. The another team is going to take care of designing databases and all. So another team which is meant for testing the product, the another team is meant for deploying the product, and the another team sales and production. Is approaching the client once the product is ready. Right. This is the scenario which is involved in the development of mobile application. As usual, any software applications also. Okay. So by answering this, you are able to get the 8 marks from this. Then, second one, module one, second question. What do you understand by mobile information design and mobile platform? Explain it. Already we have discussed the same question. Mobile information design tools, which are those all those things, basic views. Then why when you are going to switch to mobile application, since the when you get the boredom in this real world, then obviously you are moving and you start using the mobile phone, right? So mobile information design, it is a lengthier question. Choose any of the four components and explain. Okay. Then question number B, 2B, explain the effective use of screen real estate and features of mobile applications. So see, explain the effective use of screen real estate. Here screen real estate is your mobile phone screen. How you are effectively you are using that one. If it is the question is like this, and features of mobile application. Mobile application in inbuilt features depending on the vendor versions. Suppose if you go with whatever the mobile phone you have in your hand, if you are thinking in that way, you just explain the your mobile features, mobile feature which supports for mobile application. And if you are developing an application to suit your mobile device, how you are effectively going to use that screen, that is important. So choosing the font style, choosing the contrast and brightness of the screen, choosing the orientation type, choosing the button type, view type, etc. and so on, you need to describe for this question number 2B. Okay. Then module 2, any doubts are there in this question number 1AB and 2AB? I hope you are able to write the answers very clearly with these points, right? Fine. Next, the question number 3, it comes from the module 2. Explain the fundamentals of developing an Android application. Which are the fundamentals to develop an Android application? What and all the tools is required, hardware is required, simulator is required, that's the fundamental. Then apart from that, activities is required, then content provider is required, intent filters are required, broadcast receivers are required, those four components, right? So what you need to understand, first software is required, then hardware is required, then in the software part, user layouts are required, content providers are required, activities are required, and the and the activities, layouts, content providers, and intent filters. These are the basic components, fundamental components are required to develop your Android application. I explain those four. Okay. Then explain how to build the Derby app in Android. First, understand what is Derby app. Derby app is like it's a gambling app. There, Turf Club, it's a Turf Club app actually, yeah, Derby app. So usually it is involved the different modules like players, team players, then the racing racers, then the horses database, then the so the different modules are there. You explain thoroughly. Then you start building the GUI activity for the Android, then database activity, then query part. You can provide the algorithmic step-by-step information about the how you are going to build the Derby app. Okay, so for this I'll go how to build the Derby app in Android. Build Derby app in Android. Why the that application is chosen to build the mobile application? Because almost all corner of the mobile development phases it covers. That's the reason. That's the reason to chosen that Derby app. So there are several sites. It is showing the Derby app. So, with respect to the Android phone, you require to explain that Derby. Here, I was discussed this in the explanation of building the Derby app in iOS and Windows Phone. I was explained. You use the same steps to explain, but append the Android terminology rather than Windows or iOS phone. Building the Derby app in iOS, it is there. Same steps it is to be followed in Android. Replace iOS by Android. The idea of the Derby app is to build the same app over all of the mobile platform. The reason to choose the same Derby app is to provide the solution for all mobile platform. So here instead of here you can use the Android. See, the iOS version is similar to the program built in Android. So Android in Android also you can build the same app by following the following four steps. First, build the user interface. Without user interface, difficult to interact by the client to make use of that Derby app. Then team roster. Teams you require to maintain one table and details of the derbies. All the derbies, those who are riding the horses, those details you need to mention in this. Leagues and the team names. So there are several team names and the leagues about the particular derby. So you can, so there are five modules here rather than five modules. So user interface you need to specify, team roster, then details, leagues, and team names. So user interface, in that user interface what you are going to define, the derby app contains a list of data. So you use table views throughout the application to show the information to the user. So there are already chart is there. In that chart, who are all the derbies are present, who are all the horses, who is riding that particular horse, what are the teams, etc. and so on. Such information which will be presented to the end user in the tabular format through that user interface. Here there is a screenshot in Xcode, Xcode IDE to develop the application for iOS. This Xcode is used there. You can use the Android Studio tabular layout. Okay. Then the table views are used to the list and data about the derby teams and the rosters, and the navigation control enables you to create a backstack. Means some designing part you need to implement. Here the storyboard view is here. This is the tab controller. The first screen is that tab controller. When you click on that particular teams and derbies, so next navigation it will appear. It will goes, that control goes to the next activity. Then after that next to table view controller item, then etc. So connecting view to the tab bar. All these things which will be there in the derby. So explain, so what you understanding from that? What is that team roster? It is a storyboard in place. You can now write the code to populate the table. Start with the team roster tab, which will go out to a web service and obtain a list of the Lansing Derby Vixens. First, create a new class named as. So refer this notes, which is already uploaded in Google Classroom, about the discussion of the Derby, how you are going to create the Derby app using mobile phone. Okay. Then next question number 4A. Question number 4A. What are the components of Android applications? Explain with an example. Again, this is the repeated questions again. So components, usually the basic components, which are those activities, layouts, views, content provider, intent filters, right? So explain them independently. Then 4B. So most of the questions are repeated. Already which I have discussed, I won't discuss here again. Okay. Discuss the components involved in Android for activities and fragments. For activities and fragment, activities which will have the parent and the child views, like the labels, that is text view, then text box kind of thing, edit text, button, radio button, check boxes, etc. and so on. Fragments are three types: list fragment, dialog fragment, preferred fragments. So fragment is also similar to the activity, but it's a child of an activity, right? So fragment is like is a small code which is going to be placed on top of the activities. So since the mobile screen is limited in size, you can push the fragment activity on the activities which it is suitable to fit onto the screen. Again, it is designer dependent how to make use of fragments and all. Okay, that's about the question number 4b. Then module 3, question number 5, explain in detail how to design user interfaces using waves. See, most of the question which it is asked is interlinked questions. If you study from module 1 to module 5, you are able to answer all the questions, right? Explain in detail how to design user interfaces using views. Which are views? Just now I told text view, edit text, button, checkbox, radio button, image button, then date picker, time picker, progress bar. So all called as a views. So how you are designing? Write a design code and use the Android main activity.xml. You start writing the code. Okay. Then question number 5b, write in details how to display Google Maps in your own Android application. So for this, there is a lengthier code I was given in the during the class discussion as well. If you want, I will display now itself. How to display Google Maps? How to display Google Maps in your own application. So what you have to do first, get the API key from the Google API console. Register the key which is obtained from that. Previous to that, you need to have a Google account with you. Then uh, create the Wander app which has an embedded Google app map. Rather than that, we'll go with this tutorials point. You will understand. Otherwise, you just go with developers.android.com also. It will provide the information about how to how to create an app with Google Map. So Android Google Maps tutorials point. So Google Map has the layout file. That's a fragment. It's a fragment is a piece of a piece and part and parcel of your main activity. So you are embedding the Google Map using the fragment. The fragment supports com.google. In the Google Map manifest file, you need to allow the permissions like users permissions. One is access network state. This permission is needed to access the Google Map. Since if you are connected with internet, then you are allowed to access the Google Map. Then internet permission is required. Then for that to include this com.google.android.providers.gsf.permission.read gs services. Then after that, one more service is required, write external storage. Suppose if you want to bookmark anything on the Google Map activity, then this fourth permission is needed. Otherwise, it is not required, that last permission. Just if you are reading the content, this permission is not required. If you are bookmarking something onto an activity or some data, if you are updating onto a specific location, then this write external storage is required. Then one more permissions, that API key, which is taking from the Google itself. You mentioned that meta and data information about it. Name of that metadata is this API key, the version 2 API key. Then the value, key value, name value pairs you are mentioning here. Value is the key which is given by the API, Google API. When you register and when you are getting it from the Google store, you will obtain the key, you copy there and paste it in your code to interact with the Google Map. So to adding the marker, as I said, to add any bookmarking any of the maps, you need to have the this permission. So to interact, to provide the interaction when the user clicks on add marker, add marking option. So this is going to be called. This method is going to be called. You can place a marker with some text over it, displaying your location on the map. Use it can be done through add marker. So add marker, again here add marker method will be called on to the Google Map. It's built in with the Google Map. Then provide the title of so and so. Then changing map type, enable or disabling zoom, set zoom controls enabled, set to, if it is true, zooming is allowed, you can zoom in and zoom out allowed. If it's set to false, means a static page is going to, it won't zoom in or zoom out. Also we have discussed how you can check the traffic information about the map, etc., and so on, through the various set traffic enabled, boolean enabled. If it is true, so traffic information you are going to get it. So move camera update. So all these other kind of options you can include in your Google Map, which it is going to embed as a part of your application. Okay. So finally, you will obtain a Google Map with add marker is present here, etc. So, right. So once go through with this tutorials point, or which I was given the PowerPoint presentation with the snippet course also. It helps you to gain information how to embed the Google Map into your application. Fine. Next. Question number 6A. What is the perspective of deploying APK file in Android application? Perspective means the step-by-step method of deploying the APK file in Android applications. So there are several ways to build the APK, which I was discussed during the class hours, through build, analyze, build, etc. and so on. So once the application is get ready, in the Android Studio tools option, under the tools, build APK, right? Build, debug, build APK. Two options are there. In debugging mode also you can build, or you can build directly the final version of the APK. So once the build happens, it will create the Android packaging. Android packaging manager creates the APK file. So you can download that one and you can push onto your mobile device to run that application. Already we experimentally we did it in our regular class hours. Or you can run that APK using the simulator, internal simulator, like how you are configuring Nexus simulator. You configure some of the simulator while installing the Android Studio. Or you can use the external simulator like Genymotion simulator. It uses the virtual Oracle box. It uses Genymotion simulator to speed up the execution of the simulators compared to the internal simulator. It is better. to make use. Otherwise, you can use the real-time device to run the APKs. So you explain those deployment steps here. Uh, so it will carry the 8 marks. Then question number 6b, differentiate the basics of Android UI design and location-based service. See, there is two questions here. One is Android UI design. You can think of here question number 3a, fundamental of developing an Android application, and question number 6b, differentiate the basics of Android UI design. So differentiate between LBS and UI design. Here Android UI design and question number 3a almost similar questions, but here it is asked for differentiating. You can write the same and you can differentiate with LBS. Location based services, three types we have seen: through the satellite service, GPS service, through the triangular triad service, through the Wi-Fi service. We have discussed that in the previous question paper itself, right? You differentiate these two. Then question 7a, write the basic concept of Android messaging service for sending SMS and email. See, again it is a repeated question. In the previous question it was asked for only SMS. Now in addition to that SMS, email is also asked. So refer the presentation, PowerPoint presentation to answer for this question. Not in the external exam. Refer now, recall in the external exam. Okay. What is the process for binding activities to services in Android application? Again, the same question is repeated. 3 times it is repeated. So what is the techniques involved to create own services and binding web services in Android? In the previous question paper, again we discussed this also, right? Then question number 8b, explain the concepts of networking in terms of communicating between service and activity. See, 7b, 8a, 8b almost nearer to nearer answers to each other. Okay. For communicating between service and activity, first you need to have a user's permission, network access state, internet permission is needed. Very first condition. Then after that, create an activity, create an intent filters, create a pending intent, broadcast receiver, then bind the services between the service and activity. Two way we have discussed. One is visible to the user. Another service is running behind the scene. Right? That's a question number 8b. Then question 9a, how to build Derby app in Windows Phone 7, explain. See here, it is repeated again. So here you explain that Android, how to build Derby app in Android, replace Android by Windows Phone. You can repeatedly write the same. So in Android Studio, terminologies are different. Try to remember the Windows Phone's terminal. Which are those? Tile, then Metro, then panoramic view, right? Then storyboard, then app, delegate, right? You remember the terminologies. Then write those terminologies in Windows Phone. Don't write from Android to Windows Phone to Android. Don't get confused. Be clear with the terminologies and write the answer. So explain the anatomy of Windows Phone 7. Just now I discussed. That is app.m, plist.info, then app delegate, storyboard.xib, those steps. Then Windows SDK, Windows Phone SDK, Silverlight framework for the GUI interfaces, etc. and so on. You discuss that one. I hope you understood. Last question from this question paper is write the short notes on the following with appropriate example. Components of Xcode. Which are the components? Just now I told Xcode is an IDE which comes along with Windows Phone SDK. emulators, right? Silverlight framework. It's a third-party service for development of GUI. Those things you need to explain. Tools required for Windows Phone 7. Again, it is repeated. Question number A and B almost similar. Getting useful iOS things. Useful iOS things. Which are those? Which is now the latest version of Android, which supports like accelerators, then sensors, then artificial intelligence are existence. So those presents are existence. All those things are the iOS things. There be app in iOS. See, some this question paper in this question paper, most of the questions are interlinked and repeated most of the time. Okay. This the third question paper which I discussed in the revision class. If any questions are there, let me know. If any other question papers are there with respect to the VT also, you can get it. We will have a discussion if time permits us. And as you are aware that the test dates for the third internal, it is confirmed for MCA, exclusively it is confirmed for MCA 4th, 5th and 6th January 2021. Be prepared. So official timetable will be released shortly, and it is officially announced by the Chief Center of Examinations from BMSIT. Okay. Any questions? Any clarification? Now it is the time, crucial time to prepare towards the examinations. Okay. Fine. Thank you. I hope you understand the mobile applications very clearly with respect to theoretical part as well as the experimental part also. So the thing is, for the experimentation, you are required to build a small application which solves your personal problems first, then your uh, family problem, then look outside your family, then it comes to your street problems, then it comes to your local village or the town problems. Like that, you start solving from your end first. In this way, gradually you increase the skills, improve your skills, and start building the sophisticated applications which provide the enterprise solutions. Okay. All the best for all the examinations. Okay. Thank you.